Hi friends, welcome to the Psyche Mental Wellbeing Podcast with me, your host, Hannah. On the show, I'm joined each episode by an amazing guest to have an honest conversation, share our real life experiences, and tackle stigma and misconceptions around mental health along the way. We believe that everyone would benefit from focusing a little more on their mental well-being, and we're here to support you to do just that. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope you enjoy the show. Hello friends and welcome back. Hope you are having a good Monday, that you've had a good weekend, that it has been restful or uplifting or whatever you needed, and that you are feeling good at the start of the week. I had a really quite chilled weekend, obviously podcasting, sitting and chatting to you, preparing this, but I also saw a friend and we had a lovely coffee, sat by the lake. We also started an attempt at making bunting, which is something that we have not done before, so quite amusing, but very nice to spend time with a friend, to see someone that's very dear to me, that unfortunately because of everything haven't been able to see so much recently. And so yes, I'm feeling good at the start of the week. And also there has been gorgeous weather over the weekend, so that has also helped, and yummy food and those kind of things. So yeah, before we dive into today's conversation with Sherianna, I want to say a massive thank you to Alicia and Mike, who joined us last week, and quite a kind of parenting and youth angle, which is something that is really important to me. I work with young people as well as adults in mental well-being, and I think it's really great to start having those conversations at a younger age, so that we can really just know how to manage the kind of life, basically. I guess is my point. Yeah, to be a bit more prepared, a bit more aware, and to kind of deal with life a little bit. And I think today's conversation is a really great one for building on that. Sherianna joins us to talk about emotions, the difference between emotions and reacting, emotional detoxing, and all of that kind of stuff. And so a really valuable conversation, I think, for anyone like me who can want to not feel stuff and just kind of move through, who maybe is stuck kind of in reacting or suppressing stuff. And so some really great advice and a method that she shares. So I really hope that you enjoy this conversation, and I'll be back super quickly at the end. Hi everyone, and I'm really happy to welcome today's guest, Sherianna, to the podcast. So Sherianna, welcome. And if you could introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Hannah. Hi, everybody. I'm Sherianna Boyle, and I call myself an emotional detox coach. And I'm the author of a book called Emotional Detox and another book called Emotional Detox for Anxiety. And those are actually my 7th and 8th books. I've written several other books before that. And then I have another emotional detox now coming out in the fall. So you might say that that's my topic. That's what I do every day. And I work with clients all over the world and teach classes and writings about what exactly an emotional detox is and how it can serve ourselves, our families, and our community.
Awesome. And I suppose that's a brilliant place to start with. What is an emotional detox?
Yeah, most people want to know that right off the bat. And the best way I can describe it, Hannah, is similar to a physical detox. So people understand that physical detoxes are meant to remove all the impurities or antibiotics or pesticides or whatever, or drugs, alcohol, whatever, from your body so that you can feel better and function more optimally. And an emotional detox is similar, only instead of removing toxins per se that are in the form of impurities, what we're releasing and removing are reactions. And reactions are ways that we have learned and developed to how we handle our emotions. So it's the way we prevent them And when we prevent them, we are actually suppressing them or repressing them from being processed in our bodies. And I find that once we learn how to process an emotion, people start to realize that they feel better and they gain insight and strength and confidence that they might not have been feeling before. So the emotions essentially we're not trying to get rid of them. We're trying to get to them. And what gets in the way is our reactions.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that. I think that's something that quite often we want to skip through emotions, don't we? Particularly the kind of air quote negative ones. We want to be happy all the time. So if that sadness or anger comes up, like, no, I don't want you. I'm not going to feel you or explore you or anything. I just want to get past you. And by repressing and suppressing those, what kind of impact does it have on us?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest impact is inflammation, and it's twofold. We can get inflammation in the body, which essentially shows up as discomfort or tension. And that can, as you know, manifest into physical kinds of problems, pain in the body, or sometimes affects our immune system and our digestive system, which of course is such an important part of excreting, actual toxins and waste from the body. And then there's inflammation in the mind, right? And how that shows up is through chronic thinking, worrying, ruminating, all of that. And that feeds emotions such as overwhelm or out of control or fear and uncertainty. And so it becomes a little bit of a vicious cycle. So yeah, there's huge consequences to suppressing emotions and withholding them from yourself. And I know it might seem like it would get in the way, but what I find, it's our resistance to feeling that is far more harmful than allowing yourself the time and space to process an emotion.
Yeah, thanks for that. So let's say we're kind of like, okay, yeah, I get an emotional detox and why it's good, and I get why I should be not suppressing my emotions. How do I then take the step of, facing them, feeling them, and actually doing that detox?
Yeah. So Emotional Detox, that core book, I call it the core book, the foundation of this whole process. And I do think it's important to get a foundation, because a lot of us, we want those quick tips and tools, right? And that's all well and good, but more than anything, it's like a family. You can have everything, but if there's no solid foundation, what is that family built on? What are the values that family are built on? What do they believe? What is their mission? It's the same thing with an emotional detox. What is it built on? And so I really had to create that, Hannah, because I find that in our society, no matter where you are around the world, most of us have been taught to manage, regulate our emotions. And so I had to kind of strip that way of thinking and then put something new in its place that people could hang their hat on. And they're built on a couple principles. One is all emotions are good. That's the first thing, so long as they're processed. All emotions are good so long as they're processed, right? The other thing is, I really believe, after going through all of this and writing all these emotional detox and developing what I call the cleanse, which is my system, which is a 7-step system for processing your emotions. So it starts with the C and ends with the E. And I find, after going through all of that there really is only one emotion, and that's love. Everything else is a reaction. And so that too is part of the foundation. So if you choose to go on the emotional detox journey that I'm putting out there into the world, it's based on those two core beliefs. All emotions are good so long as they're processed, And there's only one emotion, and that's love. And if it's not love, you're probably in a state of reactivity.
I wonder if you'd be happy to kind of walk us through a bit of an example, because the emotion that comes to mind of one that people might be most resistant to seeing that it's good and it's about love is probably anger, the one that comes to mind. So with anger, could you talk to us about how it could be good and how it could be fundamentally love?
Well, if anger is generally a reaction, it's not an emotion. And I know this is going to kind of make people look cross-eyed for a moment, because we're so used to labeling and categorizing everything. We were taught that way. And I think that brought in a lot of confusion, because then what happens when you say anger is, what is the first thing we want to do, Hannah, when we say, well, let's just say someone says to you, I'm angry with you, right? What would be your first response if they said that to you?
I probably want to know why. But I probably would get, they get that kind of bit of a sick feeling, like anxious, like, oh, what have I done? kind of feeling.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So no, you'd want to know why, right? Someone said, I'm angry with you. And you automatically, I could see it in your face. People can't see, but I could see right away you had a physical response to that. She actually, and I'm imagining you even felt a little twingy feeling in your body, like a sick, nauseated feeling at the thought of someone being angry with you. And so those are reactions. That's what I'm talking about. And when you're in a state of reactivity, the last thing you're going to do is feel an emotion, right? You just want to get rid of it. You don't want to feel that. And so the what we do is we try to analyze, we try to figure out, we try to say, why are they mad at me? And you know how many hours, minutes we lose to this, Hannah? Really? I mean, how much energy all of that takes. And a lot of times you're trying to get information from someone. If they're angry with you, they're in a state of reactivity. Really? You really think you're going to get their most highest authentic truth from that person in that moment? No, you're not going to get their truth. You're getting a reaction. And so my message is, let's quit reacting. And that requires us to let go of some of these labels and just call it what it is. It's either love or you're in a state of reactivity. And if you're in a state of reactivity, then you're the one who has an emotion, because that's really what states of reactivity are, the triggers, that is looking to come up to be processed, right? And also, that's not it. States of reactivity are also indications that we have beliefs or fears or anxieties or narratives that are running in our somewhere in our, as your podcast, in our psyche, right? In our conscious or subconscious mind, that are looking to be cleared, that are looking to be released. They're not to be danced with or played out or rerun. That's very, very tough on your system when that happens. So I would say, like for you, just based on your initial reaction, the way you got a little sick in the stomach, I mean, for you, it would seem to me that someone being upset with you would be really rattling. That would be difficult for you. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Hannah, but that would be a difficult thing for you to release. And so there's emotions underneath there, Hannah. The thought of someone being upset with you, makes you feel. And how would you respond?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is me. It's something I talk about with my therapist a lot. There you go.
Oh boy, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and I guess it's you're saying about labels, and it's that difficulty of, as you're saying, lots of things that we say are feelings and we say are emotions, actually, if they're reacting, and then it's, I don't know, you get into that kind of like infinite regression of, oh no, what's a reaction? What's an emotion? I don't know what a feeling is anymore.
Yeah.
But I guess if someone was upset with me, I would feel, and these might be reactions as well, but I would feel upset I would maybe feel shame. I'd maybe, if I felt like I'd done something, guilt, and they're probably the big ones. Probably a lot of other stuff.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. And I think so many people can relate to that. We are going to slide those into the reaction category. And just know that's what you're releasing. You're releasing the guilt as a reaction, meaning as a way to manage what you feel. So I know this is tricky. And again, people go a little cross-eyed on me. And that's why I think it's important you get that foundation in that book. You'll understand it crystal clear, I promise. And that is, you're not getting rid of emotions, you're getting rid of reactions. And so you just, first you have to acknowledge, this is what I initially feel. I feel shame, guilt. And that's what the cleanse steps would now release. And so I have those mindful 7 steps. You would just sort of go through them and you would release all that guilt and shame, because that is actually suppressing those reactions, what you feel. And that's why we revisit them, because they're in us looking to be seen, heard, or validated. Once you clear that from your body, then less and less you're going to be afraid of other people's reactions. You're not going to take them personally. You're not going to feel like you just swallowed them, like you drank someone's drink. And as a result, you're going to be more centered and calm. I'll give you an example. One of my daughters, I have 3 daughters, her and her dad were having a conversation just the other day about the coronavirus. And they had a difference of opinion on some things, right? And she got upset because of his opinion. And she was like irritated. And I said, well, here's the thing, is you reacting to what he said. I can hear him. Now, this wasn't always the case. I can hear someone else's opinion, right? And I can just let them have their own damn opinion. I don't feel it in my body. I don't run it through my body. It doesn't the fact that she's talking to me about it a day later tells me she absorbed it a little bit, that this is sticking with her and she can't release it. And again, this is what makes life seem so difficult, when we carry these things like it's a backpack, and it fractures our relationships, and it keeps us from talking and connecting and communicating and really listening. And really, a lot of this is happening in the world where people can't even hear a difference of opinion anymore. It's like, what the heck? Really? We're all supposed to think the same way, feel the same way? Come on. Really? We're all unique, aren't we? We're all valuable. And so what I have found from moving through this cleanse countless times is that is one of the greatest improvements. I'm able to really, people can say things, do things, and it's not going to affect me. I'm just going to stick to my path. And if anything, I find that I have an impact on people greater than ever, because we want people to change, but we really don't. It doesn't start with them. It starts with us. So actually, the more that I process what I feel, the more connected I become with others. And what happens is their capabilities rise up without me having to say something, remind them of something. You get to see the highest parts of each other. You get to see the best parts of each other when you commit to this kind of a practice. And it is a practice. An emotional detox and the cleanse is a daily practice for sure.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. And for that exploration. And I think that idea of, starting from yourself, because I'm sure we can all think this might be a sweeping generalization, but we can all think of where we had a disagreement and we want to convince that person to do something the way that we think they should do it. And I know personally, if people try and tell me what to do, I can be a bit like, well, I'm definitely not going to do that. It doesn't, and that's maybe not everyone, but I think a lot of us have that, if we've got a different opinion, someone's trying to change me. No. Right. Whereas if it's that they've changed and I notice it, then it's kind of me going, oh, what's different? What's happening? And picking up on that.
Yeah. you're different. It's not that even you're different, and you're different in that you're able to vibrate differently, because emotions are vibration. And again, the more you process, the more vibration, the more consciousness awareness you have, you will see the good in others. You will see their best. They might be saying a whole lot of crap, but you're going to be able to see through the crap, and you're going to be able to see, wow, look at that little thing that they did, or that feeling, or you're going to notice the good. There's always something good, right? In every situation. And it will become a little bit more apparent as you process what you feel. Think of emotion when they're not processes, they kind of block our view. And the more you process, and the more your view opens up. And again, you can see the goodness in the world. And who couldn't use a little dose of that right now, when we're so inundated with negativity and fear messages? And then we shut down, and because we can't handle it. Right. And when we shut down, we create an internal block, and then that's all we see. And boy, would the media love that, because then they just keep you coming. Right. But the moment you start processing, you're like, I'm listening to the news and I just don't see it. I don't feel it. Like I don't know. Or maybe you just don't listen to it as long, or you don't get so rattled by it, because you almost feel like you're watching a movie where people are playing a part, but you're able to make that distinction. Is this real, or is this something that somebody is kind of creating and forming in a way where they want me to believe this? And I can see it. I'm not tangled up inside of it, because I'm processing my emotions on a regular basis.
Oh, amazing. Thank you for that. And so you've mentioned the cleanse method, so the 7-step system to kind of clear this out. And I wonder if you could briefly tell us what it stands for.
Sure. So the C is called clear reactivity. That's the very first step of the process. And I give very mindful bodily tools for doing that. The second step is look inward, which is I give some ways that you can acknowledge your feelings without getting into the stories and narratives that they can often come with. And then the third step is emit, and that's where sound vibration is integrated. We actually do it through mantra. I wrote a book on mantras made easy. So I knew mantras would be a part of the cleanse method, because I know how incredible they are. The third step is activate, which means activate joy. It's about, okay, if I'm not reacting, then what am I doing? What am I focusing on? What am I imagining? And it starts to shift you in a new direction, because we're trying to change your brain. We're also trying to release old ways of being. And then the third step is nourish, which deepens that activate step, right? So now we just have to really learn how to integrate it. S is surrender, which is explained. I give some statements for that. And E is for ease, which is another statement that you say. By the end, it takes about 10 minutes to go through the cleanse process. It's not out now, and that's okay, because I think it's important people read the core book first and get the foundation. But in the fall, I wrote a book called Emotional Detox Now, fall 2021, and that has 135 cleanses in it. So you'll be able to get up every day and move yourself through a cleanse. Basically, I collected all the situations and scenarios that my clients would bring up, the ones that seem to come up most often in people are what were decided as far as the 135 cleanses in there.
And 135 is amazing. It's a lot. Are there some that are, the most common kind of things that come up?
Well, they're divided into categories. So I have 25 each category, but ones such as the self, family, love, finances, things like that, health. I think when you ask what comes up the most often, I think is fear. I think fear comes up a lot. Overwhelm comes up a lot. I think people get afraid of their feelings and their thoughts. They can scare us, they can trigger us, they can bring up a lot, and people don't know how to get themselves through that. And that's because we were taught what feelings were, but we never were taught how to process them. And that's my focus. I always say my focus is to get the world feeling again. And it's like you got a couple chapters of the book, but you didn't get the whole book. The processing part, I always say your emotions matter. Processing them matters more. So absolutely, it's okay to acknowledge your emotions, but I think the processing part is the key to freeing yourself from those reactive patterns.
And you just said it's that kind of thing. We're not taught how to do this. We're not taught how to process it. So with the book and the cleanses, are they things that, for example, any parents listening, they could take it and they could teach it to their children in some way?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So again, it's the core book in Emotional Detox for Anxiety is out there now. And that's a great book too. So if you're suffering from anxiety, I had to reframe anxiety writing that. It was the same thing. People wanted to know, how could I apply the cleanse to help me at my anxiety? And same thing kind of happened, Hannah, where I thought, I really can't share this until I rebuild it, because anxiety was built on this whole foundation that we had to manage our symptoms and cope. And how I define anxiety is an emotion attempting to be processed, but can't because we won't let it. So the Emotional Detox for Anxiety has cleanses in there, has a few cleanses, but more than that, it really re-explains anxiety, provides a new foundation for how we can see it and how we can move through these symptoms in our lives using the cleanse.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And so before I ask you my set questions I ask everyone, I wonder if you have a final thought that you'd like to share with us.
I think that emotions are something that they're nothing to be afraid of. They're one of the best parts of who you are. They really do make us special and unique. They not only does processing help you, it helps your family and your community. So if you're concerned about the world, if you're concerned about where things are heading, how things are going, I think that you have to know that this is really going to help everybody on the planet. So when you choose to process, you change vibration, you change the frequency, you change how people feel. And this is our greatest power. And pay attention to anything that's interfering with that. Don't let anybody or anything outside of you influence your ability to connect with your emotions. Make it a priority in your life. And if something's a little bit too much, like being on your phone, right? Social media, if it's taking up time for you to process, put a boundary on there, because that's your power. This is what can make you overcome anything and what can help you do anything on this planet. So not to let anybody get in the way of one of your greatest strengths. And that is your ability to feel. And if you are on your phone for hours on end and you find yourself numbing and not feeling, you got to take a moment and say, you know what? I'm not going to do that to myself anymore. I have an amazing power inside of me. I have the ability to feel. And anything that is numbing that isn't worth consuming you. Give it a rest. Take some time to feel, and you can do anything.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sherianna, for everything you shared with us. And so I've got some questions I ask everyone that comes on, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on these. Mm-hmm. And the first one, so I loved all of the steps of the cleanse method, but especially and it links to my first question, which is one of my buzzwords, and that is, what brings you joy in your life?
Oh boy. My children, of course, they really do bring me joy watching them. They're getting older and I'm watching them and how they're developing. And I do believe all this cleanse stuff is influencing them. I'm watching them walk outside the lines and I'm really happy about that. They're not following just because, and they're not going into fear. They're taking very different paths than other kids their age, not getting caught up that, oh, if I don't do this, I'm not going to be successful. And they're workers, they're also willing to roll up their sleeves and get and realize that gives you a lot. So they're not looking for a handout. So I'm very proud of them. I guess that brings me great joy to see them develop. And also clients, seeing people, I get really excited and happy for people when they start processing how they start the light. It's like a little light turns on. And that brings me great joy. That's why I do this, really. That's why I keep writing about it. I wouldn't write about it if it wasn't working, for sure, especially not, this one is going to be my third emotional detox book. And I have a fourth one already in the works behind it because it's so deep. There's so much to tell about emotions. I can't possibly get it in one book. And you have to sort of take these skills in stages. So that brings me joy for sure.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And then my next question is, what makes life meaningful for you?
What makes life meaningful? Oh, I think, again, it's just knowing that I'm helping the planet and through the feeling and being guided and knowing that it's not just the one person I'm helping, even connecting with someone like you, Hannah, makes life meaningful. I mean, this is really what it's all about, right? Having an open heart, talking to people, getting to know people, listening, valuing them as human beings. And that's what makes life meaningful.
Thank you. And then my next two questions are about our kind of overarching topic on the podcast, which is mental well-being. Okay. So the first question is, what does mental well-being mean to you?
It means awareness. It means non-judgment. It means letting go of what society has maybe taught you, and self-compassion.
I mean, it's kind of exactly how I describe it. Self-awareness, self-compassion are two of my big ones for that. So
nice.
Love it. Yeah. And then my follow-up is always, for yourself, what you do to maintain your mental well-being.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I do my cleanse, of course, every day. And then I'm working with it all the time, studying it. And so, yeah, that's my cleanse is my morning practice. It's my go-to when things get a little rocky, as they do in life. No one's perfect and no one's going to be, people want to know, do you get to a point where you don't have to clear anymore? The answer is no. And that's because you're a soul on this planet and you have purpose and meaning. And that would mean that we were meaningless and purposeless if there was nothing left for us to, aspire to. So there's always something to be cleansed, but the cleanses shift because sometimes what people need to know, the second half of emotional detox is it's the same formula for manifesting. So that happened accidentally, but the cleanse is twofold. Teaches you how to process, and it also teaches you how to manifest, because you cannot manifest what you don't feel.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah. And so my next question is sometimes a little bit of a challenge for people. So we'll see. And that is, how would you describe your own mindset?
My own mindset. How would I describe it? I think I'm open. I'm very open, and my mindset, huh? I think I'm pretty non-judgmental. I mean, especially when it comes to other people, and I think my mindset is, that there's I don't really see the dark side, that people talk about. It's not that I don't discount it, that there isn't bad things in the world, because I do believe that, but I believe the good really, really overcomes and outweighs it. And so I guess my mindset is I'm not afraid. If something comes my way, that I'm pretty strong And I know that it wouldn't come my way if I couldn't handle it or if it wasn't meant for the cleanse. I trust that, my guides, my support, whatever, only sends me what I can handle. And some things, would seem to other people like really big. But my mindset is, okay, well, let's see, why not? Right.
Yeah, I think that's such a powerful mindset to have, that, yeah, you're not going to get anything that you can't handle. Yeah, I guess puts you in such a better place to be able to do the reacting and then the dealing with it, than having that, I can't deal with this kind of response to stuff. So
yes, that's right.
Fab. So my next question is one of my favorites to ask, because I just love to hear people's ideas. And I know you've already given us some great info about emotional detoxes and a kind of brief overview of the cleanse method that you have. But I ask everyone that comes on to leave us with between 1 and 3 top tips of little things that we can try in our life that might have a big impact. So do you have a top 1 to 3 things that you'd recommend we give a go?
Well, I recommend finding a space in your house where you can experience a little bit of stillness, a little bit of quiet, and something consistent. We tend to have this memory, and associations. And for example, I have a chair in my house that I go to do my cleanse practice. And whether you do the cleanse or you do another type of practice like meditation or breathing or listen to music or whatever that you do, I recommend you do it in the same place, because when you look at that chair or you go to that chair, your body will remember. Remember, your body has memory. And so find that little spot, that little place where you're going to anchor, maybe by a window, so you can look outside and keep it consistent in your life. And even if you just sit there and do nothing, just don't look at your phone, right? But just give yourself, that's a great place to start, is just, okay, well, where's it going to be? And I recommend it sitting up, not lying down, and a little bit of a private space, even if you have to get a little creative and create it. So that's one tip. The other is to just become aware of your eyes. Your eyes can be very reactive. Where you look, how you look at something. If you're in a little bit of a blank stare kind of thing, sometimes that's the way we get when we're on our phones. We get a little, and give the eyes time to, sometimes it's important to close your eyes now and then, take a moment in your day and just close your eyes, soften your eyes, give them a little rest, because they take in so much, and that really feeds reactivity. So just kind of playing with the eyes, putting your gaze down can help you process your emotions, for sure.
Yeah, thank you for those. And I imagine at the moment it's not just the phones, it's the getting zoomed out as well.
Yes.
We're meeting on Zoom. But I think that's more of a thing at the moment, isn't it? And so I've started throwing in a new question. I love to read. You can't see all my books. Actually, half my books behind me here, the other half downstairs. And so I'm asking everyone that comes on if they've got a top tip of a book or a TED Talk or something that's had a massive impact on you. And obviously, you can mention your own book as well. But if you have another, if you have another one as well.
Oh boy, right now I'm really interested in. I'm listening to. His last name's Green, Greene, and he's talking about the universe. And I'm looking more into like quantum science, physics, people who have studied Albert Einstein. So I'm really listening to people who are now looking into his work and also Albert Einstein's work, and on the edge of testing some pretty new theories. So right now, that's kind of what I'm into, is information about that. I have a show I do called Emotional Detox. It's on healthylife.net. It's a internet radio program. And so I do get to meet, like you, a lot of cool people. And generally they're people I'm interested in, right? Because that's kind of, you do kind of lean towards people that are talking about emotions and things like that. And so a lot of authors on there inspire me for sure. Yeah. But that's what I'm listening to now is more more scientific stuff. I'm also a psychology professor.
Okay.
So yeah, so I kind of gather some science for my students.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I love to read, and actually sometimes people come on and they've got a book that I also love, and sometimes it's ones I haven't heard of or listened to, and so that's always exciting as well. And then I can just add to my already very big reading list.
He wrote The Hidden Universe. That's the name of his book, and that's what I've been watching him lately for sure.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for sharing that. And then my final question is where people can connect with you online. I know you've mentioned your book, but if you can remind us of the name again, where we can find you.
Sure. So I'm at sheriannaboyle.com, which is SHERIANNA Boyle.com. And that's where my emotional detox is there. Emotional Detox for Anxiety books. I wrote the 4 Gifts of Anxiety. That was actually endorsed by the National Association of Mental Health. So that's a very good book. Those are all there. They're online. Any bookstore that you shop at, you can get those books. And so I'm at sheriannaboyle.com. That's where everything is. My coaching, my radio show, all of that.
Awesome. And there's links to your social media on there as well. I know because I was on there before we came on.
Oh, yes. There are links to social media. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And also when we share the episode in the show notes, we'll put a link to your website and tag you in our social media posts so people can find you from there as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sherianna. I've really, really enjoyed speaking with you and also kind of recognizing where I'm reacting and numbing and all of that kind of great stuff that I'm working on, which is always great. But I've really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. So a massive thank you to Sherianna again for joining us and for everything that she's shared. We're back with another fab episode on Wednesday. So I really hope that you'll join us again for that. I also, in between, if you follow me on Instagram at Psyche Coaching, PSYKHE Coaching, you may see a couple of updates sneak in that aren't about the show. As I think I've mentioned before, I am a massive supporter of the Samaritans and the awesome work that they do and the helpline that they have and their support. And I'm a proud listening volunteer with them as well. And I'm currently doing a challenge of doing 2,000 burpees in June as a fundraiser. Now, what you won't know is I am not a fan of burpees at all. I don't know that anyone is, but they are like my nemesis at the gym when I used to do CrossFit, because I haven't been doing that recently after lockdown and all of that. I like to lift heavy things. I don't really like the cardio side, and I don't really like burpees. So actually, a challenge is a challenge because it's something that's out of your comfort zone or something that maybe is pushing you. And yes, it's a physical challenge, but also quite a lot of psychological challenge. And actually, today is a bit of a rest day. I'm kind of ahead of my daily target of 70 burpees a day to complete it. And so today I'm having a bit of a rest day and then back on it tomorrow. But I'm nearly halfway through. I've done about 906 burpees as I'm recording this. As you're listening to this, there'll be another 70 or 80 on top of that. So yeah, if you follow me on Instagram and you feel inclined to send a few pennies of donation across to the Samaritans, that would be awesome. Or just give me some support and encouragement, because as I said, burpees are not my favourite. But actually I'm enjoying it, and actually that's my kind of current exercise at the moment. I've been creating little workouts around them, and it's been good to kind of get back into that swing of things, and exercise is something that is really beneficial for my mental health. And I can tell you 70 burpees definitely gets your heart pumping, gets your breath going, sweating. It's not very glamorous. Although someone very kindly said my skin looked great and I was glowing in one of the pictures, and I said I think that's sweat really for burpees. But so yes, if you follow me, please share some encouragement, and if you feel so called to do so, please donate to my fundraiser to support the awesome work of the Samaritans. I think that's it of everything that I want to share. Obviously, thank you so, I say obviously, it's probably not obvious, but I really appreciate you tuning in and listening to the show and supporting us. It really, really does mean a lot. And please do continue to rate, review and share the show so that we can reach more people and they can hear the awesome messages that we have on the show, like the ones that Sherianna has shared with us today. I hope you have a good couple of days, and I will be back on Wednesday with another episode. Until then, as always, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.